Delegates and comrades of Southeast St. Anne, it's your time to do your job. But this whole dispensation is harder for you than anybody else. We are not sure that we should ask you to pressure your Member of Parliament, Lisa Hanna, to join our colleagues to remove Mark Golding as opposition leader. No, we are not asking you to do that. But we are asking you to pay attention, get information, analyze the information, and make decisions based on the information you received. A big shout out to the PMP voters in Southeast St. Anne. You are the bedrock of PMP history and strength. I am going to do this analysis the way it should be done, with complete honesty and alacrity. So here goes. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Best Picture for 2023 Oscars. The movie is about an interdimensional rupture that unravels reality. And then, an unlikely woman hero has to challenge her newfound powers to fight bizarre and bewildering dangers that have the world hanging in the balance. The hero is played by Michelle Yeoh, who won the Oscars for Best Actor. The celebration of the movie and its lead actor is historical, as Yeoh is the first Asian American to win the Best Actor award. She was born in Malaysia. If the narratives give you reason to respond, then you get to pause, then you get what I'm saying. If the word bewildering hits you in any way, shape, or form, you can translate this information however you wish. Lisa Renee Shanti Hanna. There is no doubt that your parents clearly gave much thought in naming you. The order in which they named you is also thoughtful. I have always been fascinated by names, their meaning, their origin, what they say about the person. Lisa. The name Lisa became popular in the late 60s when Elvis was king, after he named his daughter Lisa Marie in 1968. The name became a favorite among new mothers with baby daughters and continued to be popular right into the 70s when the king ruled. Maybe one or both your parents were Elvis fans. Another famous Lisa is Leonardo da Vinci's famous painting, The Mona Lisa. She looks like she knows something no one else does. And no matter which direction you stand when you look at her, she only has eyes for you and she's smiling just for you. Well, that's my fantasy. Other famous Lisas, Lisa Lopez, aka Left Eye, Lisa Kudrow, Lisa Ray, Lisa Loeb. Lisa is a spiritual name. It means oath from God. Renee is a name that celebrates change and reinvention. Shanti is a name that celebrates peace, tranquility, and calm disposition. Renee is a gender-neutral name of French origin. Because it's spelled with an E, it's sometimes referred to as the male French version of Renee. I am guessing that the one E is a demonstration of equality because French names have meanings by letters. Shanti is an Indian name, fairly popular in the Punjab and Sikh region of India. Girls from middle-class families usually get this name in recognition of their family's contributions to the community. So, Lisa Renee Shanti. Let's take a dive into all things Lisa Hanna and Southeast St. Anne. But first, for the authenticity and the credibility of this analysis, we need full disclosure. I have not always supported you. You are not a part of my natural support gene pool, if that makes any sense. Natalie said my bad mind because me not nice and bright like you. That could be true. For those who follow you and follow me, your core supporters who never leave, I have been very critical of you in the past. I do not apologize for that. Anything I said before, I do not apologize for. It was never personal. So, when I decided to support your candidacy for leader of the PMP, somehow it felt right. It still does. Who are we to question God? At first, I hesitated. There were lots of other things. Norman Horn considering a run, etc. When that fell down, my decision was easy. I called Audrey Smith-Facey and I said, I'm going to support Lisa. Then my daughter said a couple of hours later, don't tell me you're going to support the white man. Him look untidy. him hear one do. My natural response to that was to assert my independence, so I started to carry on. Then Tiffany said, Lisa. Francine said, Lisa. My born again, Holy Ghost filled Christian sister Susie, who can't help herself, said, yes, support Lisa, and it's time to give your heart to God. Only other born again, Holy Ghost filled Christians can understand that. I was in. I did my best against the corruption that was already set in stone. Things we did not yet know and should have known, processes that were already corrupted all the way up to Kazoo, the undermining and vast conspiracy that was employed before and during the general elections for the PNP to lose, the massive orchestrated operation against Peter Phillips, and the ongoing operation against you personally and in Southeast St. Anne. Can't say nobody knew, but we did not know. In August of 2022, you announced that you are leaving representational politics at the end of your current term. Under normal circumstances, one could use suddenly, but there was nothing sudden about your announcement. It seemed inevitable at the time. There's nothing normal about the current state of affairs that led you to this either. It is our conclusion that you made this big move as a result of a number of things, but primarily one. Let's look at the primary one and then go to the broader picture. It has come to our attention that 3 of the 4 councillors candidates representing the 4 divisions in the great constituency of Southeast St. Anne that you have the honour of serving for the last 16 years, Lydia Richards, Lloyd Garrick, and Ian Bell, along with Denzel Wizzy MacDonald, are continuing their efforts in undermining your authority. To that effect, they have formed a number of new groups in their constituency without your knowledge and without the knowledge or approval of the constituency executive. These groups are filled with Labourites and is mostly orchestrated by one particular Labourite named Teddy Lee Gray. Now, in the PNP, councillors form groups all the time. Nothing wrong with that. But this is different. First, the groups did not come to the executive of Southeast St. Anne as required by the Constitution. Secondly, the General Secretary of the PNP, Dayton Camber, signed off on those groups without consultation with you or the executive. I believe the Constitution gives the General Secretary the power to sign off on groups, but I believe also it is mostly under circumstances where the constituency is unrecognized, where there are no constituency committee or chairman in place, or under circumstances where the constituency committee is being unfair to someone or a group of people wanting to create a PNP group. It has become the norm in the current PNP. It has become the norm for the General Secretary of the PNP to sign off on groups from recognized constituencies with a sitting Member of Parliament and an active constituency committee. That is where we are at. The group system is the center of the corruption. Councillors forming groups and the General Secretary signing off on them might have survived scrutiny if it was not discovered that a vast majority of the names on those groups are known Labourites. We understand that the constituency liaison officer went out to do the usual checks on those new groups and discovered that practically all of them are Labourites in Labourite communities in Labourite homes. We also understand that a report was made to the party about this, and we know for sure that Mark Golding, the party president, was informed. We have not yet determined if anything was done about this, but it does not appear that way. These are the groups that Wizzy, Lydia, Bell, and Garrick formed to unseat you as the constituency chairman. We would have loved to hear from you about that, but you continue to not get into the fray and talk to anyone about what's going on in your constituency, especially people like me. I think that's a good decision. Based on what we know now, we have come to appreciate your position and empathize with you. I clearly don't speak for everyone because there are still some comrades who have not yet reached the point of understanding just what a broad and sprawling conspiracy is in place to demonize you, to destroy you and run you out of PMP. I hope one day they will come to understand that as a woman, a mother, a wife, a sister, and aunt, that they will understand one day that there's just so much one can take. And indeed, one has to preserve one's dignity and character. I understand that. In the same breath, the comrades all over the country only heard what Massa Mark and Dayton Campbell were saying. The comrades are not hearing your side or the truth. So this analysis is not to put out your side. This is to tell the comrades the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, no matter who vexed. Writing that letter in August 2022 must have been hard for you. I imagine in my mind how calmly you did it, but you were hurting inside. Your recent body language displays a certain level of sighing resignation to the whole situation. But I can still see that fighting spirit and reading your articles, the continued passion to serve people. I also sense a resilience and contentment about you. You are still fighting, albeit intellectually. But let's get down to it. You have been the unfortunate focus of Paul and Angela Burke's wrath ever since you took the decision to not be friends with them. That's it, people. You, Lisa Hanna, decided that you don't want to be friends with Paul Burke and Angela Brown Burke, which means they cannot wind you up or program you. God knows enough of us got that. That singular decision set off a firestorm of internal disruptions in your constituency, perpetuated by the councillors and Wizzy led by Paul Burke. It has been one fight after the other since. It has been a roller coaster for you. Had we not made the decision to visit Southeast St. Anne 4 times in our tour and listen to the comrades talk, we would not have known the magnitude of the conspiracy led by Paul Burke and his wife, Angela Brown Burke. What they did was set the narrative, organize the demolition team, continuously recruiting people to badmouth you and tear you down. But God knows it was so much more than that. Both your responses and lack thereof exacerbated the situation and made you the top contender for the #1 target spot. So, let's roll the tape. Your detractors say you mash up Southeast St. Anne. You're hard to get along with. You don't get along with your colleagues. You behave like you're better than them because you do not chat to them, yada, yada, yada. Of course, this is mostly coming from a set of people, from a set of groups. Work with me a little bit, Renee. Let me see if I can address the most grievous and malicious of these groups. But let us keep in focus that all of it started when Paul Burke wanted the seat for his wife, Angela. So, first, the softballs, little dick, weak men, mansplaining how the modern woman should behave. These men's only relationship with the 21st century is their car. They use their cars to make up for their other shortcomings. Let's get that car hitched to a chain and drag them into the 21st century. In 1919, women gained the right to vote in Jamaica, in 1919. But that depended on something related to property and income. That means that only certain women could vote. It is that same year that the U.S. Congress passed the 19th Amendment granting women the right to vote. 47 years earlier, in 1872, Virginia Woodhull, the first woman to run for president, ran for president of the United States and could not vote for herself. 2 years earlier, in 1917, the first and lone woman was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives, Jeannette Rankin from the state of Montana. Today, there are 25 women in the U.S. Senate of 100. There's 125 women sitting in the House of Representatives of 435. And that's almost a third of the House. And they don't just sit. Oh no. They are powerful, loud, disruptive, funny, smart, educated, innovative, progressive, and ahead of their male counterparts in stature, intellect, and plain old common sense. There are 12 women governors, 21 lieutenant governors, 10 attorney generals, and the one that pleases me the most, 10 secretaries of state. 3, in the belly of softballs men whose manhood feels threatened every time a woman in heels shows up. Montana, South Dakota, and Oregon. It was 41 years later in 1960 when the first woman in the world was elected Prime Minister of a country. Sirimava Bandaranaike was elected Prime Minister of Ceylon, now known as Sri Lanka, in 1960. 2 years before we got independence from Britain, and over 50 years before we elected Portia Lucretia Simpson Miller as the first female Prime Minister of Jamaica. It was 88 years later, in 2007, that America elected its first woman Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. 101 years later, in 2020, that America elected its first black, half Jamaican, half Indian Vice President of the United States. And 103 years later, that a black woman was nominated and now sits on the U.S. Supreme Court. The same court, I might add, that ruled in March 1857 in the case Dred Scott versus Sanford that black people were not American citizens, so they could not sue in the courts of law. 104 years after Jamaican women were allowed to vote, 84 years after the first minimum wage act was passed in 1938, 48 years after the Equal Pay for Women Act was passed in 1975, and 44 years after the Maternity Leave Act 1979, men still believe they are superior to women. These laws from a progressive Jamaican PNP government help propel women's recognition, worth, consciousness, and power. And still, Jamaican men continue to believe that they must be the catalyst to women's power and ambitions in politics. And more importantly, they still want to tell you how to behave, how to act, how to talk, what to say, when to say it, who to say it to, what you should aspire to, what you should not aspire to, what position best suits you. But you, Lisa Renee Shanti Hanna, have turned that on its head, and therein lies their problem with you. Women own more than half the world's businesses. Ghana, 47.2%, Russia, 34.7%, New Zealand, 33%, Poland, Uganda, Vietnam, and Australia rank in the high 30s. More than 11% of Fortune 500 companies are run by women. Cuba has the highest number of women in government, certainly compared to the rest of the Caribbean. Women own their power. Women flaunt their power. Women use their power. Women are confident in their power. Women are confident with their power, and women exercise their power with the same agility and softness when necessary, compromise and negotiations when necessary, and cutthroats when necessary. Margaret Thatcher and Hillary Clinton comes to mind. It is the men who set the high bar for women to compete in politics. They thought that they could set it for you too, as they have done for other women. They set the bar so high that they have no expectations that you will clear it. And because they are self-assured that you will not clear it, they are knocked off their game when you surpass it. At which time, they truly lose themselves, because it is you who now sets the bar. You are setting the bar so high now, and they are afraid to even look at the bar, much more attempt to scale it. Some of these men find it extremely hard to deal with the fact that there is much more to you than your beauty. You're not only smart, but you have opinions, you have great ideas, you command a room, you speak without fear. It is maddening for them because it shows them up for all that they are not. So the only card they have been using is employing the services of buffoons who don't even know where the bar is to demonize you. Then they get nasty and defensive because you have surpassed their lack of expectations and leave them behind. It becomes dangerous now for them. There, that is called womansplaining. Still with me, Shanti? The second group of persons that have issues with you are those in media, arts, government, and side chicks and side dicks to the first group. Some of these are women of so-called influence. But you, Lisa Hanna, are a threat to their perceived and misguided concept of womanhood and manhood. They call you pretty, in a derogatory tone. They say you are too arrogant, you don't listen to anyone, think you know it all, look down on people, and the most heard one is you don't talk to people. Some of the things you hear is, boy, at least I have some little way. Yeah, man. But nobody can say what those way are. They all struggle to explain what exactly is their problem. They are searching to find a way to explain the little way that you have. You know, Lisa don't talk to me, some would say. I don't have any problem with Lisa. Lisa passed me and I said good morning. You know, she never even answered me. I saw her at NEC and she just walked past me, never said hello. You know how much time she see me and she never says hello? Ah, we see it now. They are saying you don't have any good manners, Lisa Renee. And in their puny minds, it is reason enough to fight you, to demonize you, to undermine you in your constituency, to run you out of the PMP. Okay, got it. Well, let's run out all the people in the PMP who don't have good manners. Starting with me. Oh, I forgot. They ran me out already. Imani, Crystal, damn, they went as well. Ah, yes. Venetia Phillips, oh, she got run out too. Ah, yes. Let's start from the top. Who don't have any manners? Massa Mark Jefferson, Peter Bunting, Dayton Campbell, Ian Hills, Angela Brownberg, Wentworth Skeffrey, future international scammer Dexroy Martin, Michael Phillips, Tony Hilton, Patricia Duncan Sutherland, the whole YO leadership, the whole women's movement leadership, Dennis Gordon, Andrew Swaby, the whole NWU leadership, Sarah Marshall, Eugene Kelly, Philip Powell, Joan Gordon Webley, oh, Shelley, right? Hugh Graham, Paul Burke, Maureen Webber. I am sure there are hundreds more out there the readers will name who don't have no manners. It looks like if we keep this up by running all of those who don't have the manners out, only Peter Phillips and Dana Scott Matley will be left. And the wonderful PMP dogs in the communities dressed in orange shirts and armbands as members. Just to add, you don't talk to me either. But the difference between balls and vagina is balls are soft and sensitive. Squeeze them and that's the end of that. Vagina is a different thing entirely. God is a comedic genius. It is an elasticated, resilient and firm pot of gold. You can do anything you want with it for an hour and in 5 minutes it's brand new again. Then there is this group of people who believe with all their hearts that you should listen to them, invite them to lunch, discuss their plans with them, hire them, go to do interviews with them, suck up to them, take advice from them, invite them to your house, etc., etc. But you prefer to ignore them because they require you to play nice, and that's not your style, particularly if their motives are not noble. They betrayed you. Then there are these, the offshoots, the political neophytes, the grifters, the dunces, those that you built into a little crew, gave them respect and recognition, then they sold you out to Bunting and Golden for money, seats, business opportunities, and just to be in their space. The joy of their uneventful life was always been to be seen with you. The political neophytes, the whores and prostitutes, they all have issues in their lives like everyone else. But this group always finds someone else to channel these issues onto. Their grievance campaign of whinging and whining like the stupid prince and his grifter wife is what fuels them and provides meaning to their otherwise dull lives. Maureen Webber, Pamela Redwood, Omar Newell, Thelma Joe Hill and Sheldon Bailey. I deliberately want to name this ragtag group. Every now and then, some of them link up and gripe about their monotonous and joyless life that somehow is your fault. Powerful you, Shanty. Then it becomes a real pity party when the wimpy fellow, who vexed because he can't get the punash, takes a trip into Kingston to drink cheap wine and vent and reminisce about the days of old where the grifting business was good. You eyed most of these people when no one else would. They betrayed you. Not one of them can tell a sensible story of something you did to them to incur such betrayal. All of it is petty. And of course, it's their version of events. But don't worry, Mrs. Karma just lives down the road from them. Their turn is coming. Except for Maureen, it is still baffling to me how you ever trusted anyone from this bunch. But I think most people would understand. Everyone in this country witnessed the criticism that have been leveled at you. The whole country. The little wimpy weasel named Wizzy was walking around with a folder accusing you of all sorts of things. He did it because you rejected him. Good for you, Renee. Good for you. His mission is on Paul Burke's instructions, and he was welcomed by Bunting's paid media personalities, entertained by corrupt media personalities who are owned by politicians. And he carried on and on and on, and he carried on. The great payback that will visit him is God's judgment. I sincerely hope and pray that no man will ever do to Wizzy's daughter what he did to you. But prayer can only do so much. The actions of the parents usually reverberate for generations. I am mindful of that every day. As for the mainstream media personalities, I would say it is just pure guttural and bad mind killing them. But that would be way too easy. No, their problem is much more complex than that. You will not be any sugar mama for them. You will not be their friend to do what friends of the media do. As minister, you treated them with a professionalism that they were not accustomed to. So there. Or maybe they are just guttural and bad men after all. So Lisa Renee, every story has three sides. Theirs, yours, and the truth. You refuse to tell your side. I can't help but think that your own thinking in not telling Jamaica your side is because you are not a professional victim. Never complain, never explain. This is a mantra started by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II that sustained her dignity for 70 years on the throne. You don't complain, you don't explain, you deal. In addition, I think that you believe going in public to defend yourself against these vipers would be classless, uncouth, and seem desperate. Somebody on your executive told us that you believe it would further mash up the constituency and make the party look bad. You see, Chanty, different rules you have to play by. They go out and say all the things they want about you. The party leadership backs them up. Massa Mark backs them up. Dayton Campbell backs them up. It's a trap, and you're not biting. You are the MP. You were the minister. So, let's look at how you handle things. I should be objective. Objective for some would mean blaming you for some things. But unless I can find evidence other than your attitude and manners towards most things and persons, my objectiveness will remain in the realms of facts and accurate information. First-time politicians who succeed immediately are a rare breed. Usually they knew what they wanted, hung out with politicians, and then placed themselves in positions of influence that then propelled them to the top of their game. Being given a strong, safe PMP seat without some kind of apprenticeship is a problem in the PMP. The PMP does that often and it always ends up badly. Your predecessor, Aluna Samba, never fared too well as one such candidate, exactly because of that. Her response to every detractor was, I was fine where I was. It's a party that asked me to come here. I don't need this. Well, she didn't until she did. You fell into that too, Lisa, but with an air of entitlement and more arrogance and superiority than she had. You started out by rubbing people the wrong way. It doesn't seem that way now, but it's a usual entrance for politicians who get easy entrances into politics. You never understood. You didn't take the time to learn from Asamba's experience. You felt that you were different, and so you were. You see, Shanti, that attitude was as a result of you being asked to take the seat, being given the seat just for being you, not because you had any track record of political success or you have been a PMP doing work in some constituency for a while. It was a shoe-in for you. You were not a councillor upgrade into MP. You were not a senator transition into the lower house. You know you were getting a safe PMP seat for doing absolutely nothing. You are the pride of a grateful nation. Jamaican beauty queen with interest in representational politics. You're a catch for the PMP. Portia was proud to nab you on our side. A big shout of yes was heard all around the world when you became the standard bearer for Southeast St. Anne. Most felt it was an undeserving gift. It probably was. Your failure started in just a short time. Why? Because you did not walk slowly. You did not stroll. You plunged head first. You plunged hard. You ran, skipped, and plunged all at once. I am guessing that you felt the need to hit the ground running because you have to prove yourself worthy of seeing a Mullin seat. You were acutely aware of the general beauty queen trivia and eager to prove that you were more than just beautiful. You were not aware that a samba had failed miserably, but it's like a tailored reaction to that, a need to do the same things, display the same attitude 3 times higher than a samba. It was history in repeat with a double-edged sword, bigger weapons, and an outside orchestra. It was inevitable that you would get the same results, except yours was harder, more calculated, and was being directed by Paul Burke. Because you were all wrapped up in yourself, you couldn't see past your nose. You were given a safe PMP seat without having done any work at any level in a constituency. You were given Foggy Mullin's seat without having any appreciation or knowledge for its history and its importance in the political scheme of things at that time. It was easy for you. You never faced any opposition. You never faced any pushback. You were welcome. So Renee, having no apprenticeship or training in politics, you plunged head first. Not being a political animal at the time, you plunged head first. Not having to fight for the seat or compete for it, you plunged head first. First, because it was given to you as a gift for being Miss World, for being beautiful and smart, for making Jamaica proud, for being you. Then you treated it as if it was an inheritance that was left to you. The arrogance and the entitlement. You follow, Shanti? That is what you did, with your eyes closed to the growing enemy's line, and they weaponized it. You didn't know the ropes. You have never had to play nice before, so you were arrogant. I mean, your arrogance was palpable. I saw it firsthand. So it was easy for them to put a target on your back. Paul Burke, Angela, Wizzy, Lydia, Garrick, Bell. The war began at a slow pace. Then, joined by that mealy-mouthed riff-raff Dayton Campbell, it escalated into the First Battle of the Marne, World War I, September 1914. But if arrogance and entitlement were resume killers, there would be no parliamentarians, there'd be no politicians, there'd be no success. So that set off this. The war between you and the councillors was headed to an unfortunate but necessary crescendo. In the run-up to the local government elections of 2016, you felt that Lloyd Garrick should be replaced. You were looking at numbers from the general elections held a few months before. Some of the people who were assisting you in the analysis said the weaknesses were primarily from the representation, or more lack of it from the councillors. People needed to know that they were sabotaging you, and in effect sabotaging themselves, the ugly thieving fools that they are. Just like Bunting and Dayton sabotaged the party and lost their own seats. Comedy of errors. You knew they were undermining your efforts and sabotaging the constituency on Paul Burke's behalf. You just never realized it was so sprawling. You were still caught up in yourself. Of course, when councillors are not performing, the Member of Parliament gets the flack. That is just how it is. The MP gets the power, the MP gets the blame. So you cut off the CDF allocation from their direct involvement, and that was a Margaret Thatcher move. Brilliant. Garrick was robbing the public purse blind. He felt he owes no explanation to anyone. He was only answerable to Wizzy. The information suggests that you told him to step aside and allow a new candidate, who you believed would be able to win. You wanted to get rid of him, get a fresh start. The success of the constituency is your responsibility, so you wanted him gone. He refused, and an independent candidate was put in place. The detractors, oh, they are burning on this one. Now, while Garrick had his issues, which were overwhelming both at the parish council with the residents and the PMP base of the Monique division, it is worth saying that most councillors on both sides of the aisle are corrupt. They can't help themselves. But his dishonesty was too blatant, brazen, and stupid. It was felt by some of his colleagues that he had no sense. They said so. It's not a nice look when a man as ugly as Garrick is blatantly and brazenly dishonest and stupid at the same time, plus disrespectful to his female MP. Some of his colleagues on both sides of the politics told us that he was a follower and a cheap mouthpiece on this operation to destroy you. Add ugly to that, and it is not a nice look at all. He needed to be cut down a peg. He was also the easiest target of the rest because he was already unpopular in his division and heading towards losing the PMP division. Many felt that you orchestrated the move to have the independent candidate participate in the elections. Well, this is the part now where all the female MPs, the PNP and the JLP, should smile broadly, sit up, get their pen and paper, sit at your feet, and take notes. Don't mind me, I'm just dreaming. They all felt that you did it, but they are the only ones who care about that. They did raise bloody hell though, and Burke moved to a new strategy. So let's do a quick recap. They started a war because they were not getting their way. You had no good manners. Lydia mounted a challenge to unseat you as constituency chairman because they were not getting their way and the CDF money cut off. Paul Burke and Wizzy set Garrick to disrespect you because they were not getting their way. And they made no preparations for Mrs. Karma to come visit. They never sweep the yard, wash the plate, cook something, nothing. Oh well, she came anyway. Members of your constituency executive speak freely now that they know the truth of what the councillors and Wizzy did. Those members told us you had nothing to do with it. It's because the people in money turned against him because he did have gone too bad. Those are not my words. Burke's new strategy now includes collecting information about work being done in the constituency. Selected information that could damage you. Mr. Small Penis Wizzy was the lead on this one. Operation Beauty Queen began after Garrick lost the local government elections in 2016. The JLP won the seat with 837 votes to Garrick's 817. The independent candidate polled 789 votes. No, this needs a pause, all right? That's something. That's really something. We can't know for sure, but the result shows that Garrick was likely to lose the PMP seat. Why? Based on science, history, and voter behavior. If a majority of the 789 voters who voted for the independent candidate were traditional PMP voters, it makes a loud roar that so many of them would cross over in favor of an independent candidate over the PMP candidate. It was an unlikely move in a traditional PMP seat. So Garrick would have lost anyway. They were not going to vote for him. And this, the Claremont division also suffered a slight discomfort when an independent candidate also ran against Councillor Ware. He could not escape that because he was also running around with Lydia and Garrick behaving like they are in charge of something, taking orders from Sergeant Little Dick and Paul Burke. Once again, the independent candidate proved that these guys were not only unpopular among the PMP base, but were incapable of standing up and defending their own records. Councillor Ware won by the Claremont division, but not without the embarrassment of losing over 600 PMP votes to the independent candidate and a good chunk of PMP voters that did not come out to vote for him. It is worth emphasizing that if over 1,400 PMP voters went out and cast votes for an independent candidate against the sitting PMP councillors, that's no small thing. No small thing at all. It also, without any doubt, gives credence to the argument that they are the ones who mash up Southeast St. Anne. People are beginning to see that now, that they have the information. They said so. They said that was you too. Well, more bows, more note-taking. I am giddy. I'm dreaming again. Never mind me. Well, Lisa Renee Shanti, those were your crimes. Yes, those were the big crimes that you committed, and you left bodies along the way, bruised egos along the way, made enemies in high and low places, and most importantly, you cared zero about what anyone thought. You were doing things your way. It is possible that some of those who can't verbalize their issues with you are just plain jealous. What do you think, Shanti? Somehow they felt that these flaws that you exhibited are political crimes and warranted the war that they waged on you. They held you to a different standard and you changed the standard. With all the information available to us, with all the people we have spoken to in your constituency and the Crown, the cry is the same. road, water, bridge, opportunities, etc. The war that is going on is Paul Burke, Wizzy, and the ugly thieving councillors. But Lisa, you must know that it's not just him, it's not just them. It's also those who hobnob with Wizzy, eating and drinking with him, visiting his farm, inviting him to things. Officers of the party, MPs, influencers. One of these days, we will put out the pictures and show the comrades how these people hanging out with a pea-brain little man who has spent over 20 years destroying the PMP constituency of South East St. Anne, working for us to lose a seat, to satisfy his ego that the most beautiful woman in Jamaica rejected him. No want him, now give him the pussy. What the people are saying now, Lisa, just look at that. We spoke to a gentleman who is up in arms with you for taking away some power that he had in the Jamaica Agricultural Society. Or maybe it was the fact that he invited you and you haven't gone yet. We spoke to some guys at a shop not far from a constituency office. We played dominoes, drank beers, we bought them a pack of dominoes. This shop is owned by an expat from Jewsland, my community. His vote is now transferred to South East St. Anne. We stopped a group of women in Beechertown. Bell drove past and never even saw us. Drinking soup from your man, who told us that you stop by for soup often. We spoke to a group of women whose issues range from roads, water, and a little something for going every now and then. They all have one thing in common: for you to stop and talk to them, for you to walk and talk to them. But even they struggle when we ask if you walk or not. We get answers like, yes, sometimes, or she for walk more. All the things, all the attitudes, all the responses, all I have listed above that you did or did not do, all the men do it and it's accepted and it's normal and they are treated like good MPs. Because of all that, you were and did, as I outlined above, the orchestra director, Paul Christopher Burke, instructed the council for the Bensonton Division, Lydia Richards, to challenge you for the chairmanship of the constituency. And that took place in September 26, 2015. This was not supposed to make Lydia win. She could not. It was meant to punish you for all that they perceived that you did or did not do. This was supposed to humble you. This was supposed to have you groveling and begging. Now, to be fair, as a member of the party in good standing, it is Lydia's right to mount such a challenge if she feels empowered to do so. The PMP Constitution protects her right to do so. But we all know this was Burke's doing to get you to bend the knee. This was not about Lydia winning. You wiped the floor with her ugly face. She got 10 votes. You receive a resounding vote of confidence from a delegate with 468 votes. But it damaged you. It created an impression that you have no control, and it weakened your standing with the voters of South East St. Anne, which was the intent of the challenge. All of it was designed to bully you out of South East St. Anne, to run you out, so to speak. Lydia's loss did not deter them. They just changed gear and planned for you to lose the PMP seat. But let's look at South East St. Anne a little bit now. First, let's give some recognition and love to the late and great Seymour Foggy Mullins. Then we will segue into Assamba's and your stewardship of the constituency. Seymour Foggy Mullins ran his last two elections in 1993 and 1997. I knew Comrade Mullins very well. We met at a bar in his constituency in December 1992. The YO crew walked in on him and some of his constituents having a good time. We drank and laughed at his slap jokes. When we attempted to pay, he said if we paid, we would not be allowed in the bar the next time that we come, so we did not pay. It was a little place in Claremont, not very far from the school, because that is where we had our meeting. He, Foggy, along with Peter Phillips, Portia Simpson, Millie and Paul Burke, were very supportive of me when my mother died. He, Foggy Mullins, paid my second-year tuition fees to encourage me to finish up at CAST. Members of Parliament were not very fond of the YO those days. They thought of us as dangerous. Not because of anything we did, but mostly because of our leaders. But Foggy Mullins, he behaved differently. He was a gentleman and a patriot We could use even one of him now. In 1993, a total of 15,573 electors were on the list. Foggy received 7,196 votes. The JLP polled 1,946 votes, with a little over 9,000 votes cast in their ballot. Seymour Mullins won the seat by 5,250 votes. In 1997, Seymour upped the ante. Additionally, he had an additional 1,700 new voters to the list. Total electors were 17,000. Seymour got 8,472, which means that he got 1,200 more than 1993. The JLP polled 2,755, and they added 813 to their previous total. But Seymour won by 5,713, adding 463 more votes to the previous total. Asamba, Seymour Mullins left the Cessa in good health. Asamba came in 2002. Her troubles with the same thieving, ugly crew and the little Teely man began almost immediately. I'm not going to delve into that now. But with 682 new electors, the list was now almost 18,000. Asamba polled 7,419, and she lost 1,053 votes from the previous numbers. Than what Foggy left. She lost 1,053. The JLP polled a whopping 4,242 votes, almost a third more votes than they did on Foggy last election. So we won the constituency by 3,177 votes, and we lost 2,536 votes in the process. You know, Lisa Renee, your very first election was in 2007 when the voters list lost 345 electors. You know, the electoral office is not doing a good job in explaining these things, but we're going to get to the bottom of it. The voters list was 17,651. You polled 7,158, and that's 261 less votes than 2002. The JLP continued adding to their total. They polled 4,461, adding 219. You won by 2,697, 480 votes less than the previous numbers. In 2020 elections, the voters list boasted 30,488 people. You added 750 more electors from the previous list. You polled 5,150 votes. The JLP polled 5,119 votes. They added 242 votes. You lost 2,992 PNP votes. You won by 31 votes. The JLP kept adding. So between 2007 and 2020, the constituency lost 3,846 votes. On your watch, Lisa. But in trying to come to an assessment of the decline in voter turnout in one of the strongest PNP constituencies, the overwhelming narrative was how you nearly lost Seymour Mullins' seat. I mean, lightning and thunder, brimstone and fire. The earth moved, the angels wept. St. Peter had a meltdown. It was a seismic shift in the history of world politics. Boy, your detractors, they went into overdrive. They drank, they celebrated, they moaned and they whined about the 31. They could almost kill the 31 voters that God sent you, despite Lydia's effort to suppress the PNP voters from coming out. And did she work? Telling people that Lisa win already. You don't need to vote. Don't worry, man. You know, say Lisa can't lose. What a work, man. Oh, yeah. This is the PNP councillor for the Bensonton division who the PNP people want gone. And she's going to lose the Bensonton division. That one needs an independent candidate. The corrupt mainstream media went into high gear. The write-ups about how you nearly lose, nothing about what was really lost. Just you nearly lose, almost lost. They could smell the blood in the water and they sniffed and pounced like vampires. It seemed at the time that no one realized that you won. And Bunting lost John Jr.'s seat. Dayton lost Burchell Whiteman's seat. Colin Fagan lost Paul Robertson's seat. Ian Hales lost Ben Clare's seat. Luther Buchanan lost P.J. Patterson's seat. Wicker McNeil lost him Daddy's seat. We lost North East St. Elizabeth, Central Westmoreland, Central Kingston, Eastern St. Thomas, and North Trelawney. All seemingly strong PNP seats that we can't lose. Bunting would have lost Central Manchester from 2016 were it not for KD Knight and John Jr. But there were no alarm bells for that. There were no alarm bells that they lost the PNP seats. Just that you nearly lose Foggy seat. That was the highlight of the 2020 elections because the target was you. It was like the PNP just lost the election because you nearly lost your seat. Imagine that. Everyone was losing their minds. Everyone. Until we exposed the conspiracy. In early 2020, a group started meeting and planning the finishing touches for your demise, for you to lose the PNP seat. This group made a decision that they would rather lose the PNP seat, lose Ivan Lloyd's seat, lose Seymour Mullins' seat, than to have you, Lisa Hanna, become party leader. The members of this group were Bobby Pickersgill, Peter Bunting, Dayton Campbell, Garnet Roper, Aluna Samba, Angela Brownberg, Paul Burke, Denzel McDonald, A.K. Wizzy, Small Teely, wannabe pussy-feeling connoisseur, Paul Burke, who was a puppeteer, loser, waste of space, wannabe anything, Angela Brownberg, oh, they have not invented a description for she yet. Garnet Roper, the disgraced national figure, hanging out with Peter Bunting. Dayton Campbell, the national disgrace. Peter Bunting, the Machiavellian wannabe and leader aspirant. Bobby Pickersgill, chairman for life of the People's National Party. Lydia Richard, that idiot, ugly side chick. No, not side chick. Side chick, once you pass 21, you're not side chick, you're side foul. Lloyd Garrett, ugly, loose PNP council seat, bad mind. We can't assert if Bell was there, but we knew of the plans and promised. He knew of the plans and he promised to play his part, and we're sure he did. So they began to meet regularly at hotels, Bunting House, and Wizzy Farm. The plan was simple but elaborate, to make you, Lisa Renee Shanti Hanna, lose the PNP seat. Paul Burke had already done some preliminary work, delaying selection conferences from when he was GF, buff up the teeth in ugly councillors, and meeting Wizzy to make him feel important. Wizzy was salivating, gathering intel and constituency work programs and contract disbursement, whatever it was, to get him hyped. He had his folder, looking like a mad scientist, mumbling to himself, I bet she's gonna give me some poems now. Now she's gonna let off now. Whoopee! The operation was, the councillors would take care of their continued efforts to spread lies in the constituency, erode confidence in the core base of the PNP, be everywhere when you are not around. They would talk to the local leaders, feed them lies and sow doubts about your leadership. Wizzy had his continued efforts in getting all the contracts from the councillors and spread some little money, telling people that you were not giving them any money, making the voters of South East St. Anne believe that he's the one giving them money when it was the contract money from the councillors' work. The most elaborate part of the plan was to make sure PNP voters stayed home. Wizzy had big cooking up by his house on election day to lure away the people in charge of getting out the voters. It was elaborate. And they were taped. They hired a caterer like fools for one such meeting. And she taped them and she blackmailed Bunting. Bunting was heard on the tape saying, the only thing we have to do is make sure enough people stay home because there will still be other things. Words like, she have to lose, she can't be leader, lots of teeth kissing. Angela Brownberg was saying, if she wins, we're all dead. Lydia, don't worry, we're on it, or something to that effect. Garnet Roper was doing his justification dance. We can't take the risk of she winning because she will run for leader. The delegates can't be trusted. This has to be done right. Pickersgill grunted in agreement. It was nasty. It was treasonous. It was betrayal of everything PNP. Just to make you lose the PNP seat. To take you out of contention for being leader. And while they were doing that, nobody in the PNP came to your defense. Everyone was listening to Wizzy and the teeth in ugly councillors. Nobody questioned anything that they were saying. Everybody just listened to them and they targeted you and they blamed you. because they all feared your strength, your power, your womanhood. Julian was also culpable when he was General Secretary. Paul Burke was not only culpable, he was now in the position of power to direct the operation and rain destruction on Southeast St. Anne. And you knew that no matter what you could have said, they would not have believed you. It would have been in vain. But you still did make some complaints that fell on deaf ears. Because in one way or another, they were all culpable. Meanwhile, they had a sprawling operation going on around the country. They targeted certain seats and individuals, the people who they were scared of, particularly the women. The strong, talented, competent, attractive, bright women who are not taking any crap from them. Crystal and Imani were on that list. But you, Renee, you were the big kahuna. You made their blood boil. You defied their expectations. You did not survive. You won, Lisa. You won. They lost. All of these people are the personification of what Reginald Hargreaves summed up as their ailment. Man's greatest flaw is the illusion of control. Reginald Hargreaves said that. Reginald Hargreaves is on Netflix, The Umbrella Academy. Lisa, Renee, Shanti, you are what Portia, Eleanor, Hillary, Margaret, Ella, Victoria, Aretha, Rosa, Ada, Marie, Nanny, Mary, Clara, Elizabeth, Anne, Maya, Jane, Sojourner, and Merlin. You are what their sacrifice and hope for. They are counting on you. You're not a survivor. You're a victor. They knocked you around, you knocked them down. They use their power to embarrass you, you embarrass them more. They love to hate you, you love to fight on their terms. You love to fight on your own terms. They tried. They are still trying. Your move now. You said that you're walking away. Now that is your prerogative. Remember though, you knew it was never going to be easy. You knew because you fought hard. You showed your strength. But most of all, you stood up against them and you won. Why should you be the one to leave? After all that they have done to lose the PNP seat, why should you be the one to leave? You were the one who fought against them trying to lose the PNP seat. Anybody else against them would have failed. Does Massa Mark and Dayton and Angela believe that anyone who gets it, should you leave, can stop the bloodbath from the voters or the curse of destruction from the thieving, ugly councillors and the whimpering little Dick Wizzy? Only you can stop them now. The PNP people in Southeast St. Anne are tired of Wizzy and his manipulation for power and control. To punish you for not giving him the punani. They are tired of Lydia and want her out. She's in hiding. They want nothing to do with Bell. Garrick has gotten uglier and nobody in money wants to see him. Nobody. All of them combined cannot offer Jamaica what you can. Paul Burke, Angela, Wizzy, Liddy, Garrick, Bell, Lydia, all of them. None of them have anything of substance to offer this country. Nothing except to thieve the people's resources, make trouble, disrupt the constituency, destroy the PNP seat. They have nothing to offer Jamaica. Nothing. Jamaica is not done with you. Lisa, Renee, Shanti, Hanna. The people of Southeast St. Anne deserve another chance with you. Our young women, our boys, our children. They deserve the best. They deserve the best among us to inspire them, to give them hope. You, Damian, Imani, Crystal, Orton, Raymond, Donna, Denise, Natalie. You can inspire and motivate them. Angela, Lydia, Wizzy, Bunting, Dayton, Garrick, Bell, Hales, Paul. They cannot inspire a dozen ants to a sugar hill. Every person has a role to play on this earth. Some to build and inspire hope. Others come to destroy and sow hate and bad mind. Jamaica needs you. You should reconsider your decision to step away. But if you do, you cannot let them bully you into another seat. If you reconsider, you have to stay and fight for Southeast St. Anne. Thousands of people out here are ready to fight with you. And Damian, Raymond, Crystal, Orton, Imani, Donna, Natalie, Denise, and many others. many others. But this is a decision that only you can make in consultation with your family and God. We all will be supportive of whatever that decision is. Southeast St. Anne is PNP country. Bless you.